On this week's episode of Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast, a new report confirms that 2 Teslas are the most American-made in the market, parts-wise. Plus, Unplugged Performance reveals a Model S Plaid police cruiser. European base Model 3s might soon get a battery pack upgrade. Tesla is planning yet another massive supercharging station in California, and more. Welcome, friends, to your 484th episode of Ride the Lightning, the weekly Tesla unofficial podcast, this one publishing on November 10th, 2024. Of course, I'm Ryan McCaffrey, joining you as I have every single Sunday for the past 9+ years and counting. I am flanked by dogs, Daisy the Boxer on my left, Mine of the Future Service Puppy on my right. And it is a palindrome this week. I just have always gotten a kick out of palindromes when it's the same thing forwards and backwards. Episode 484, which means that the next palindrome is in 11 weeks. But in any case, I hope you'll enjoy this week's episode. I'll start here with a new safety update that's on the way for the Tesla fleet called Blind Spot Warning While Parked. Saw this via Not a Tesla app, whose whole deal is keeping very close track of this stuff. I've certainly cited them on the podcast before. They have a very good track record when it comes to this kind of thing. They write, in the release notes, Tesla states, quote, if you try to open a door while an approaching object is detected in your blind spot, such as a cyclist or other vehicle, the blind spot warning light will flash. An audio warning will sound, and the door will not open on the first press of the button. Wait, and then press the button again to override the warning. Well, those of you who, like me, live in cities who have to do a lot of street parking will no doubt appreciate this one, because the last thing that you ever want is to open your door when a cyclist is approaching in the bike lane right next to you. And quite honestly, that's probably the last thing that the cyclist wants too, is for your door to swing open right as they're biking on by. Also in this update, by the way, which if you're curious will be version number 2024.44, are cold weather improvements. Always nice to see those because, as we know, EVs, one of their, I won't call it weaknesses, but one of their things that you have to take note of when you own one and you live in a cold climate is that the cold does impact the range. I mean, it does on a gas car too, but it's arguably a bit more pronounced on an EV. Anyway, more cold weather improvements coming as part of 2024.44 with the description, battery preconditions have been improved to provide better supercharging as well as better automatic windshield defogging before, during, and after supercharging. So that's, again, nice little simple update just to increase your quality of life when you're supercharging in the cold. Next, as part of 2024.44, a highlighting of tow-friendly supercharging stalls will be in the UI. The description for this is, quote, you can now see if a supercharger has trailer-compatible spaces. Tap a supercharger location pin on the map to see if it is trailer-friendly. If your vehicle is in tow mode, trailer-friendly supercharger locations will appear at the top of the list. Again, a simple thing, but really, really welcome for those of you who are going to be towing, particularly now that the Cybertruck is in general production. More and more folks are going to start towing things with their Teslas. Not saying they don't do it already with an X or a Y, perhaps, but the Cybertruck is really going to accelerate the adoption of, or the practice of towing with a Tesla. So this is a well-timed quality of life software update coming to version 2024.44, so take a look out for that before too long. The next little thing I wanted to warm up the podcast this week, and this one's specifically for Swedish listeners to whom I wish to apologize because I'm sorry that what I'm about to say wasn't announced in time for me to tell you about it ahead of time, so you could have planned to take advantage of it if you were interested. But I wanted to mention this here real quick anyway, because I think it's a nice little thing. And it's this. Tesla made supercharging free for everyone in Sweden for 1 day this past week. The Tesla Europe X account posted, celebrating the opening of the Supercharger network in Sweden to all EVs. All Tesla and non-Tesla vehicles can charge for free November 6th. Again, clearly it's come and gone, but I thought that was pretty cool, and I wanted to mention it because I think it's pretty cool that the entire country, no matter what EV you were driving, could plug into a Tesla supercharger and not be charged any money that day. That's pretty cool. And so I hope that some of you listening to this were able to take advantage of it, either on purpose, if you did happen to hear about it from the X account, or if you found out some other way. Or maybe some of you managed to catch a free supercharging session in Sweden by accident on November 6th. But regardless, very cool of Tesla to do this, in my humble opinion. And I think it's a really nice way to welcome the other car brands onto the network in Sweden. Also in Europe, while I'm on the topic, if any European buyer, if any of you out there in Europe are going to take delivery of a Model Y, a new Model Y, between now and the end of the year, well, guess what? Your delivery and the next year of your ownership just got a lot better, because you will get 1 year of free supercharging when you take delivery of a Model Y before the end of the year. So again, super cool, nice little demand lever, nice little perk there. Hopefully some of you will, just like with the supercharging thing I just talked about, either accidentally take advantage of this if you've already ordered and you're waiting to take delivery, and this is going to be one of those nice things that you didn't even sign up for that you're going to get, or some of you maybe will hear this and now get to intentionally take advantage of that, if that pushes any of you over the edge, if you're thinking about it and are now going to go ahead and order that car, which will of course be manufactured at Giga Berlin and be delivered to you. I have actually been the beneficiary of this in my Tesla experience with my 2018 Model 3 Performance. I think I've told this story before, so I'll make it quick, but when I ordered my car, so I had been waiting and waiting and waiting for the Performance Model 3 to go into production. And back then, Tesla had said, we're not going to put the Performance into production until we've fully ramped up, until they'd hit, I don't know if it was actually 5,000 vehicles per week, but till they had hit volume production, I think it ended up being somewhere around like 3,000 vehicles a week. But once they really got rolling, that's when they were going to introduce the Performance Model 3, because doing so, obviously, introducing another variant into the production line introduces complexity, which technically slows things down, or at least makes them less efficient. Anyway, so I was finally able to order my car in May of 2018. And I eagerly placed that order the second that I was able to. And from there, I had a 2-month wait until my delivery at the end of July of 2018. And between the time that I ordered in May and I took delivery in July, Tesla put out a little announcement saying that any Performance Model 3s purchased would get free lifetime supercharging. Only the Performance model, not the long-range rear-wheel drive or the dual-motor all-wheel drive. Just the Performance model. They were just trying to wave a little carrot there. If you wanted to spend a little more money on the Performance version, they'd give you free lifetime supercharging. So I was able to get grandfathered in on that since I'd already placed my order, hadn't taken delivery, and that has proven to be a great perk. I've taken advantage of that plenty of times over the 6+ years that I've had my car. So hopefully those of you in Europe who either already have a Model Y coming or might now go ahead and order one will take lots of road trips next year and take full advantage of your 1 year of free supercharging. Meanwhile, this week at the very popular SEMA Auto Show, SEMA, our friends over at Unplugged Performance unveiled the newest vehicle in their upfit program of police vehicles. I've talked about Of course, their Model Y, I've talked about it a number of times, that they're offering for police use, to be, kitted out for police use. They now have a Cybertruck for police use. Well, they've introduced a Model S Plaid. Yes, a Model S Plaid police cruiser. So finally, we will now have, at least available to municipalities, there will exist a police vehicle that no Tesla can outrun. What's the over-under on, for lack of a better term, I'll just say perpetrators here. What's the over-under on perps who get placed in the back of this car, who either, get arrested, whatever, they get put in the back of the car, and they ask the police officers to launch it after they get put in the back seat? Is it maybe going to be half of them? More? I mean, I guess maybe if I were arrested, I would be not thinking about the thrill of a Model S Plaid launch, but I'd probably have other concerns on my mind. But I could see, like, I'm in a Model S Plaid, I've been arrested. Officer, can you launch it for me? Can we go to Plaid real quick on the way to the police station? Anyway, I just thought that was awesome that Unplugged Performance has a Model S Plaid police cruiser now, should any municipality want to order one. Another tidbit to get the podcast started this week: the Cybertruck can now be leased. With $7,500 down, you can get $1,000 per month, technically $999 per month for 36 months with a 10,000 mile per year limit. Although there are options, you can play around with that. You can adjust the sliders on both the mileage and the down payment and the duration of the lease. So you could pay a little bit more to do 12,000 miles per year as your limit, or you could go all the way up to 15,000 miles per year for an annual mileage limit. And then there's also a 2-year lease option as well, though again, that will cost you more per month. And I guess I was only surprised to see this pop up this week, in the sense that while I acknowledge it's always nice to have more options, because after all, I mean, Tesla sort of famously, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while or just following along with all things Tesla for a while, you know that Tesla pretty famously likes to minimize the number of options with anything, because the fewer the options, the more efficient things go, and thus the more profitable they can be as a business. But I love more options, but I have to say I'm not sure how big the market is to lease an $80,000 plus truck, depending on how you're going to configure it. We'll see. Again, great to have the option. If it doesn't make sense for you, you don't have to do it, but at least it is there if you want it. And by the way, while we're talking Cybertruck, once again, the Tesla Europe account on X posted some good news. This was pretty neat. The Cybertruck won the Coolest Car Award from the German car enthusiast publication Auto Bild at their annual Golden Steering Wheel Awards. So congratulations to Franz von Holzhausen and the entire Tesla design team for taking home that Coolest Car Award. Pretty nice to see that. This week's Patreon poll question, by the way, it wasn't tied to any of the news stories this week, so I'll just go ahead and talk about it here. I asked this: which Model 2.5 variant would appeal to you more? And the reason that I was thinking about this and decided to make it the poll question this week is because now we know that the Model 2.5, as I've been calling it, aka the smaller, cheaper, next-generation Tesla that's due to go into production in the middle of the next year, that's different from the Cybercab. So we know that that vehicle is going to be multiple vehicles, plural. So I was just curious which variant of it would appeal to you more as a potential buyer. And I have to say, this might be the most balanced, even response poll that I've ever done for however many polls I've done on this podcast. The number is actually a tie for first. So 26% of you said that the Model 2.5 variant that would appeal to you more would be a compact SUV, which I added a little probable description. I said probably slightly more expensive, but with more cargo volume and a bit less range. 26% of you also voted for I won't be in the market for any of these, which, hey, totally understandable. I probably won't be either. But then, so 26% said compact SUV, 24% said a compact sedan, slightly cheaper, but with less cargo volume and a bit more range. And again, I'm using the 3 and the Y as the analogs here. And then also 24% of you said that the Model 2.5 variant that would appeal to you more would be another type of cheaper vehicle entirely. And then in parentheses, I said, likely a hot hatch or something else. So the poll this week was 26% compact SUV, 24% compact sedan, and 24% another type of cheaper vehicle entirely, which I guess, even though it's just our little Ride the Lightning sample size, it kind of really reinforces Tesla's decision to have the 2.5 be a product line rather than just one vehicle, because there's the opinions there, I should say, are split. Not everybody wants the compact SUV. There are plenty of people that would just happily take a compact sedan or something else. So thank you very much to everybody that kindly voted in this week's Patreon poll. By the way, just a quick reminder that the referral program is back, and you can get $500 off a 3 or a Y, or $1,000 off of an S, X, or Cybertruck. You have to order using the referral link. So if that is of interest to you, my referral link, what you need to do is just type this into a browser on your phone or desktop. It's ts.la/Ryan73014. I will put that into the episode description as well. That'll take you to the Tesla website where you can choose which model you want, configure it how you want, order it, and the discount will be applied. Just wanted to quickly remind folks of that, because we're at that point, and by the way, I'm actually in this exact position myself where it's like, all right, I want a car by the end of the year. It is just about time to order to make sure that I am able to take delivery by the end of the year. So just make sure if you're a first-time Tesla buyer, make sure to use somebody's referral code to get that discount. And if you want to use mine, I would be grateful if you did that. I wanted to mention my Patreon real quick before I get going. As the holiday season is rapidly approaching / practically already here, if you've been listening all year and you think, you know what, yes, Ryan, I would love to support what you're doing with Ride the Lightning, my Patreon is the way to do that. You can go to my Patreon page found at patreon.com/Tesla podcast, and all tiers, all the different support tiers, they all have different perks and bonuses that stack as you go up, but all of them will have no ads and early access to each week's episode as well. And then if you go start to move up the ladder like that, the $10 per month tier, that's the most popular one, you will get no ads, early access, and you'll get each week's new lightning round mini episode. These are like 10 to 20 minute little mini episodes that I do every single week on Patreon. There are 100 and I think it's 120 of them. I think this week's was 120. And the topic this week was, what will happen first? A Cybertruck price cut or the introduction of the single motor Cybertruck, the rear wheel drive Cybertruck? So I was thinking about it on the dog walk this week and decided I'd jot down a bunch of notes and just turn it into a lightning round. So check that out on Patreon if you're interested. And if you decide to join that Patreon, you'll not just get access to that one, but you get access to all of them, all 120 lightning round episodes at that $10 per month tier. Don't forget that annual pledges are a thing. If you just want to pledge once to support me for an entire year, you can do that. And as a thank you, I give you a 10% discount on the annual pledge. And then the other big PSA is unfortunately due to Apple's new payment policy. There's a 30% App Store fee that's tacked on if you join the Patreon through the Patreon iPhone app. So just don't do that. If you're going to join the Patreon, please do it on a desktop or a non-iPhone. So it could be on your Mac computer. Just don't do it through the Patreon app. That's all. So patreon.com/Tesla podcast. Okay, let's get to our headline story this week, and that is that Tesla's vehicles have the most North American parts, according to a new report from NHTSA, meaning they are literally the most American cars on the road. I saw this written up on Teslarati this week, and they wrote, the Tesla Model 3 all-wheel drive and rear-wheel drive are both made up of 75% US and Canadian parts, tying for the most North American-made components of any vehicle in the market, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration's latest report on US-Canadian parts content. The agency shares the reports annually under the American Automobile Labeling Act, the AALA, and Tesla's reported 2025 lineup ranged from 60 to 75% on the index. Meanwhile, the only vehicle to include as many North American parts as the aforementioned Model 3s was the Honda Ridgeline Sport. Interesting that it's not even an American car company. It's the Honda Ridgeline Sport. Anyway, Teslarati continues saying, Tesla's Model 3 Performance and all Model Y units followed the Model 3 rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive with 70% North American components, while the Cybertruck and Model S were each reported at 65%, so still 2/3. The 2025 Tesla vehicle with the least US and Canadian-made parts is the Model X at 60%, which is still more than the vast majority of others included on the list. You know, on the Model X to start with, I would have to venture a guess that it's parts inside the Falcon Wing doors. It's Falcon Wing door stuff that must come from overseas rather than from the US or Canada. Because, I mean, the X under the skin is basically just an S. The drivetrain's the same. The battery pack's the same. The suspension, I think, is the same. I'm pretty sure it's the same. It has the same functionality. So I would think it's probably Falcon Wing door related, but that's obviously just a guess on my part. Anyway, I may have said this last year, the last time that this report came out, but I think this is a good one to bring up to anybody in your life, whether they're close to you or just an acquaintance or dinner party conversation, who may be unsure, either unsure about Teslas, like, I'm kind of like them, but I don't know, or useful to someone that you talk to that has maybe been fed misinformation about Tesla, which sadly we've seen is all too frequent because of the constant FUD that's spread out there about Tesla. Now, I've said this about the company since the Model S hit the scene back in 2012, so I've been beating this drum for over 10 years now. Back when the Model S became the best car in the world, according to Motor Trend and many others, by the way. That's not me saying that. But American-made cars used to be the gold standard in the automotive industry. From Ford in the early days of the 20th century, going back to before any of us were alive, to Ford again later in the 60s, when they stormed back to beat Ferrari. By the way, Ford versus Ferrari, excellent movie if you haven't seen it. At least I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. Christian Bale's good and everything, but yeah, check that out if you haven't seen it. But then, I'm born in 1980. In the 80s and the 90s, the U.S. kind of lost its mojo in terms of the automotive industry in the bigger picture of things. It's not that there weren't great American cars, but American cars were, by and large, seen as, I think, generally speaking, I'm not saying this is a fact, but I think it's fair to say that the sentiment was that American cars were not as good as, say, Japanese cars in terms of build quality, reliability, etc. So that was the 80s and 90s. But guess what? In the 2010s and now the 2020s, Tesla has single-handedly brought that mojo back to the United States in terms of the car business. And that's just reason number 6,324 that I love Tesla for doing stuff like that. Just coming out of nowhere. And guess what? Tesla is now one of the most desirable cars in the world and the most technologically advanced car in the world. Tip of the spear in terms of revolutionizing the industry, really by just about any definition, whether it's manufacturing, gigacasting. Lots of other car makers are now getting into gigacasting, or at least they're planning for it. Software updates were never a thing in a car, at least not over the air. I have to caveat that. Technically, there were updates. If you took it to the dealer and paid them a bunch of money, they would plug something into your car and update like your GPS maps or something. But in terms of free, frequent, over-the-air updates that would fundamentally and in fact functionally change your car. And if you think I'm being hyperbolic with functionally, no. Remember, for those of you that have been around long enough, remember when one-pedal driving was introduced as a software update? That is functionally changing the way the car operates. Now, it was an option. You don't have to choose that on the older Teslas like mine. I actually don't have that. I've tried it, and I don't love the feel of it as much. I know the newer cars just have it on by default. But anyway, so you get what I'm saying, that Tesla, in just a number of ways, really has brought that mojo back to the U.S. in terms of the United States being a leader in the car business, and I absolutely love that. Another fun story this week comes out of Giga, Texas, where the Boring Company, we're boring. I love that is a perfect company tagline. It's so good. The Boring Company is finished, and that is their real, if you think I'm just making a joke, no, I'm not that clever. That is actually their tagline. The Boring Company is finishing up a tunnel that's running in and out of Giga, Texas. Specifically, it's going to be used for out. So photos of the nearly completed tunnel were posted by Joe Tegmeyer. That's the gentleman known for daily drone flyovers of Giga, Texas, both when it was under construction and now. Because in the past, Joe's flyovers, his drone work, has keyed us into a number of Cybertruck-related happenings, and done so kind of a bit earlier than Tesla has often communicated it themselves over the past couple years. So Joe posted on X this week saying, quote, "The Boring Company continues to prep the Giga Texas tunnel with the completion of the road surface panels, interior white stain/paint, lighting, and more. Additional work around the west exit point is visible now. Hopefully this will be operational by the end of the year and we will see Cybertrucks drive through." And then a follower on X asked Joe, "Do you think that the Cybertrucks will be able to travel from the end of the assembly line through the tunnel and to the west facility lot on Smart Summon?" To which Joe replied, "That's the plan." Now, in fairness, Joe is not Tesla, and while I mean no disrespect to Tesla, we cannot take his word as gospel on that, but optimistically, and in his defense, he does talk to a lot of people at Giga Texas, and they know who he is at this point, because Tesla themselves even put up a little Easter egg nod to Joe at the very top of a flagpole that they recently installed, knowing that his drone would see it, which in fact it did, which is how I know about it. And that's kind of similar to how you may remember that during Cybertruck production, or the early production, and we found out later after Sandy Munro tore down the Cybertruck, that Tesla put a nod to Sandy Munro on the circuit board of a part, I don't remember the specific part, but it was just a part buried deep inside the Cybertruck, knowing that Sandy would see it when he tore the truck down. And in fact, he did. I believe it just says, "Hi, Sandy," on it, if I remember right. So anyway, all that is to say, it would not surprise me if this is in fact the plan, and it does end up happening, and probably sooner rather than later, in terms of Cybertrucks coming autonomously or semi-autonomously off the production line, actual smart summoning, ASSing their way to the outbound lot through that boring company tunnel where the trucks get loaded up on car carriers and are shipped out for delivery. The tunnel runs under the adjacent freeway. If you've not been there, Giga Texas is this literal mile-long building, and it's adjacent to a freeway. So the tunnel runs from the factory under the freeway and into this outbound lot on the other side of that freeway, where the trucks then get loaded up on those car carriers and get shipped east, west, and north. I guess not, maybe a little bit south, but not very south. Mostly given where Austin is in the United States, but they are shipped out from there. You know, this reminds me too, this story. Remember back when Elon Musk used to talk about Teslas delivering themselves to the customer one day as autonomy progressed? Well, you know what? This is one meaningful step towards that actually becoming a reality someday. If, in fact, these Cybertrucks are semi-autonomously going through this tunnel and over to the outbound lot. It's a step towards that. It's pretty cool. Next up this week, Tesla looks like they are preparing to soon upgrade the battery pack in the entry-level variant of the Model 3 and possibly the Model Y with a new, larger, and more efficient battery pack. I saw this story on Drive Tesla Canada, who writes, "The battery pack upgrade, referred to as the CATL 6M or E1A, features a 4% net capacity increase from 60 kilowatt hours to 62.5 kilowatt hours and is anticipated to bring benefits in range, performance, and charging speed, according to documentation uncovered by ex-user EIVISSACOPTER. I guess Ivisicopter would be how I would pronounce that. Apologies to that user if I'm getting that wrong. But anyway, that person, says Drive Tesla Canada, has shared reliable information in the past. According to that ex-user, this increased battery capacity will likely be offered initially on the 2025 Model 3 rear-wheel drive configuration. This upgraded version could launch as soon as mid-November in Europe, aiming for a WLTP-rated range of around 520 kilometers, or about 323 miles, a small increase from the current 513 kilometers, or 319 miles. Even with a 4% increase in battery capacity, this new pack is reported to weigh 1 kilogram, or 2.2 pounds, less than its predecessor. Another possible plus for the new CATL battery pack is that it is expected to feature improved DC fast charging speeds. The current 60 kilowatt hour battery in Tesla's entry-level models can charge up to 170 kilowatts, although the documentation did not disclose the specifics of the charging speed of the new battery. As for what is inside the CATL 6M battery pack, it is expected to incorporate either lithium iron phosphate, LFP, or lithium manganese iron phosphate, LMFP chemistry. Both LFP and LMFP chemistries are known for their improved thermal stability, longevity, and cost effectiveness, also benefiting Tesla's sustainability goals by reducing reliance on rare metals. Thank you to Drive Tesla Canada for that. Well, even though the report did specify Europe, just to answer the question that many of you fellow Americans might be wondering right now, I would personally not expect this variant with this battery to come to the US. Well, why? You probably can guess, and that is the tax credit. A Chinese-built battery pack, CATL is a Chinese company after all, is going to be disqualified from eligibility for that $7,500 federal tax credit here in the US. However, the incoming presidential administration has previously signaled that they might try to do away with the Inflation Reduction Act and thus all EV tax credits. So if that were to be the case, then Tesla, I would suspect, probably would bring this one out over here as a new base Model 3 with a range slightly greater than the already pretty impressive 272 EPA-rated miles that the now discontinued base Model 3 LFP pack had. However, personally speaking, I like the current scenario better, where you can get a 363-mile EPA-rated range nickel-based battery pack for $35,000 out the door with that $7,500 tax credit. So I would very much love for that tax credit to stick around and just keep the long-range rear-wheel drive Model 3 as the new base Model 3. But regardless, for those of you in Europe who might be considering a Model 3 purchase in the coming year, and I guess by coming year I mean pretty much now, I guess coming model year, since they did say it might hit in mid-November, which is basically the start of the 2025 model year of the car. But this is something for you Europeans considering that Model 3 purchase to keep an eye on for sure. And to be clear, this is good news. There's no downside here. This is good. Even a 4% larger pack might not sound like much, but with the same weight as the outgoing battery pack, well, that just means a little extra bang for your buck in the range department with no downside. There's no weight penalty, nothing like that. So never a bad thing to get a little extra, effectively free range. Love that. And the last story that I have for you this week is another fun one, and it is this. Here in California, where I'm at, another massive new 168 stall supercharger is planned for the busy Interstate 5 corridor that runs between San Francisco and Los Angeles. Ex-user Marco RP, who I've cited many times on this podcast before, he is quite eagle-eyed when it comes to spotting new or planned supercharging sites, and he almost always beats everybody else to the punch on this stuff. Well, Marco RP discovered the publicly filed plans for this one. Here's what he posted, quote, "A massive new supercharger is coming soon to Coalinga, California. Permits have been filed for a 168 stall station in a vacant plot of land located right off Interstate 5 at West Jane Avenue. The site will also include restrooms as well as a large solar array and battery storage." Well, you know, I don't really know what else to say that I didn't already say a couple weeks ago when I talked about the first one of these. If you may, I'd like to come up with a name for this. I think I have it. Can we call these Giga Sites? We have Giga Factories, but I don't know, Giga Charger is a little thing too confusing with Mega Charger for the Tesla Semi, but how about Giga Sites? Like just big site, big supercharger site. We'll see if it catches on. I don't know. Sometimes I throw these terms that I coin out and they stick in the community and sometimes they don't. But I'm going to call this a Giga Site until you guys tell me not to. But anyway, and by the way, if I'm going to define this term, I guess I should if I'm going to coin it. I think a Giga Site should be any supercharger station with 100 stalls or more. So a 3-figure stall supercharger, 100 stalls or more. Anyway, but like I said, I just don't know what else to say about this that I didn't already say when I talked about the first one of these up in Oasis, California. I suppose I'll say this, that it gives me a lot of confidence as a Tesla owner that I can travel anywhere between LA and San Francisco and quite simply never have a problem getting a quick charge. Just never. I mean, Tesla, what they're doing, and I applaud this, they are really future-proofing California in terms of chargers, because I mean it's an EV heavy state here. There are more electric vehicles in California than anywhere else in America, and it is just crazy to see Tesla just slamming the accelerator down on these supercharger build-outs in California, particularly between LA and San Francisco along that Interstate 5 corridor. But it's worth pointing out though that with the rest of the automotive industry having adopted the NACS port that's on our cars, this is also pretty vital for the entire EV movement as well. I hope that doesn't come off as too hyperbolic on my part, but Tesla doing multiple 168 stall Giga Sites, I mean, it's big for all EVs. It's big for the movement, so that anybody buying an EV, because remember, starting next year, starting in 2025, there are going to be cars that are manufactured and delivered to customers with the NACS port on them. No more adapter. Like, these cars are coming. And so when people buy those cars, they take delivery of them and they want to go on a road trip. And if they happen to be in California, and presumably Tesla will make their way, they'll start dropping some of these Giga Sites along other heavy corridors in the US as well. But you just have all the confidence in the world. Even if that car's not a Tesla, it doesn't matter. You can plug into any of these massive Giga Sites and you're good to go. You'll get your juice and you'll move on to your destination without any stress or anxiety. So I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome. Also, I'll say this. I'm curious if Tesla is buying this land or just leasing it. Because if they're actually buying these sites, then I guess we're going to have to start to include real estate as one of Tesla's businesses, because the land for these giant sites is never going to depreciate. It's only going to become more valuable over time. So maybe Tesla's slowly becoming a real estate company as well. And then I guess anyway, just to wrap this fun little news nugget up, that means that the next 2 Interstate 5 Giga Sites, if you will house a combined 336, probably V4 supercharger stalls. 336 at 2 stations, 2 sites. That is crazy, because this is now the second site to be exactly 168 stalls, obviously. The Oasis one and now Coalinga. So I do wonder, and I'm just wondering aloud here, if that number is not a coincidence. Like, is it because there's a capacity limit of some kind in terms of how much power that Tesla can deliver simultaneously at a single site? Like, theoretically, if every car is plugged in, if the station is full, like, I presume that, well, not I presume, I know that there are physicians, mathematicians, or physicists, not physicists, well, physicians too, but physicists, mathematicians, engineers listening to this that might be able to tell me for sure if there is a physics or math limit of some kind at a 168 stall supercharger. But anyway, super cool. I love this. I can't wait to visit all these new stations. And by the way, the Tesla drive-in diner down in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, it's almost done. They're putting up the screens now to watch the movies on while you charge and while you eat. So if that gets done in time for the holidays, which I suspect is Tesla's goal, if in fact I'm able to take delivery of a Cybertruck in time for the holidays, and if I drive down to Phoenix to see my family, I'm going to have to stop either on the way there or on the way back to see and eat at the drive-in diner. So that's going to be super cool. That's everything I've got for you in another busy week of Tesla news, but stick with me. I've got plenty of your Ride the Lightning hotline phone calls teed up and ready to go right after this.
Hi, this is Franz von Holzhausen, and you're listening to Ride the Lightning with Ryan McCaffrey, the Tesla unofficial podcast.
Before I get to your calls in the Ride the Lightning hotline, I want to remind you that this week's Ride the Lightning is brought to you in part by my old friends at Accelerate Auto, who offer their excellent XCare extended warranty coverage for your Tesla. And you might think, well, again, why do I need that? Tesla does offer their own extended warranty policy now. But remember this, Tesla's plan, and I love Tesla, obviously I'm doing a podcast about Tesla, but their extended warranty is only a 2-year, 25,000 mile coverage plan. That's it. There's no flexibility. It's take it or leave it, 2 years, 25,000 miles, and you have to buy it before your factory warranty is up. XCare, that is not the case. You can buy it anytime you want, and you can go all the way up to 10 years if you want, and all the way up to 125,000 extra miles of coverage after your factory warranty is up, or anywhere in between. I have a 3-year, 40,000 mile policy on my 2018 Model 3, which is currently, it's covered, so I'm happy. Don't forget that the XCare plan not only matches what Tesla offers in terms of the perks, meaning, so both the Tesla extended warranty plan and XCare have $100 deductibles and 24/7 roadside assistance, but XCare goes above and beyond Tesla by offering rental reimbursement and trip interruption coverage, which Tesla doesn't. And so XCare will cover everything bumper to bumper, other than, the usual stuff like not tires or windshield wipers, stuff like that. But all the normal warranted stuff that you would expect to be covered is covered. You can also add battery and drivetrain coverage to your policy if you like, or do the opposite and not worry about the car except for the battery and drivetrain. You can just get a policy to cover your battery and drivetrain if you want to. So the flexibility is key. That's why I'm a big fan of the XCare extended warranty option. If that sounds interesting to you, or you just like to go learn more, you can go to their website. It's accelerateauto.com/XCare, spelled XCELERATEAUTO.com/XCARE. And don't forget to use the discount code LIGHTNING for $100 off your policy purchase. Time for me to hear from all of you in the Ride the Lightning hotline. If you've got a Tesla question, comment, or discussion topic for the podcast, please call in. I welcome and invite you to do so. You've got a chance to be featured here on this segment. There are 2 easy ways to call in. Either use your smartphone's built-in voice recording software, record your question. Please try to keep it to 90 seconds or less so that I can get to as many callers each week as possible. And then simply email me that file. My Tesla email address is teslapodcast@gmail.com. Or you can take that same 90-second or less question and call in and leave a message on the Ride the Lightning hotline. The toll-free number you can call anytime you want is 1-888-989-8752. That's 1-888-989-TSLA. And if you know someone special with an upcoming birthday, anniversary, graduation, or some other special occasion, you can give them a unique gift of recorded voices from friends and family telling them why they're special. The recordings can be podcasted like I do with them, or put onto a keepsake. Visit lifeonrecord.com if you'd like to learn more. First up this week is John from Western Massachusetts.
Hi, Ryan and the Ride the Lightning listeners. This is John from Western Massachusetts. I had a weird thing happen on FSD today, and I was wondering if you or anyone else in the community had ever experienced it before. For reference, my 2023 Model 3 Performance Hardware 3 is running FSD 12.5.4.1 currently. Anyway, I was driving home on a route I drive at least 20 times a year, and there's a T intersection coming off the interstate where the one lane splits, and either a left or a right turn gets me home with about the same distance and time, although the paths diverge for a few miles. The car navigation usually suggests a left turn, but this time it pointed to a right turn. However, FSD chose the left lane and made a left turn, and a few seconds later the screen navigation adjusted. Coming from a single lane, there was no reason FSD would be forced to turn left at this intersection. It occurred to me that FSD must be using a separate navigation system. which might explain why so many of us notice that it often makes lane change decisions late or goes into a lane that we don't expect. Anyway, I just thought that this was curious and unexpected, and I thought I'd put the question out there to see if you or anyone else had any similar experiences or could share insights. Thanks again for your fantastic podcast, and give some pets to your dogs for me.
John, consider your pets for the dogs to be in the queue. They will get plenty of them after the podcast is over. Thank you for calling in. While I cannot definitely address your hypothesis, I can say that I have personally seen FSD occasionally make, say, different choices than it typically makes at some regular turns that I make, turns that I've made over and over again. And at the moment, I can tell you that it actually takes a wrong turn very predictably. It's repeatable in a couple of spots that I frequent, which obviously that's not ideal. So every time it happens, I report the bug with the voice recording. So hopefully the next version will continue to take more steps forward than those small little steps back. Thank you so much for calling in. Next up, here's Andrew from Ottawa.
Hey Ryan, it's Andrew from Ottawa calling here today. I'm calling in response to some of the FSD roadmap improvements, and obviously I think that emergency vehicles detection is awesome. But I have to hope that it relies on more than just microphone, because as a paramedic myself in the past, there are times when you just use lights and not sirens. You don't want to blare your sirens through small neighborhoods when people are asleep, and so lights are perfectly visible enough to most people. And so I really hope that the FSD vision picks up on those lights, because sirens are simply not always in use. They're more of use for when people are just in your way and you need to tell them blaringly, you need to move out of my way. Anyway, I hope that everyone's well, and thank you so much for everything that you do. Take care.
Andrew, thank you for sharing your life experience here, and you are absolutely right, of course. I mean, that makes perfect sense. Unfortunately, I have to imagine that the vision cameras seeing the lights up ahead of you coming from the opposite direction, or behind you in the rear view camera approaching from the same direction you're going, are a much easier thing for the system to detect than audio cues necessarily. So super cool that Tesla is making this a reality within FSD. I mean, it's funny, I have a distinct memory of this very scenario coming up on this podcast many years ago. I don't know if I had mentioned it or a caller had mentioned it, but as one of the challenges that FSD would need to overcome in order to truly allow for level 4 or level 5 FSD was dealing with first responders, emergency vehicles, and how the autonomous system would respond to that. So cheers, Andrew. Thank you so much for calling in. Next up, here's Marvin from Bellingham, Washington.
This is Marvin Van Horn from Bellingham, Washington. I have a question regarding a safety issue. Do you or does anyone know why Tesla does not have a cross-traffic alert to go along with the backup camera? Every other car I've had has that. I see cars advertising it, and yet Tesla doesn't have a cross-traffic alert. Seems like a simple issue. They have the cameras. They have the technology. So if anyone from the Tesla team is listening, please add a audible cross-traffic alert. Thank you.
Hi, Marvin. I appreciate you calling in, and I am with you here. It is an increasingly common safety feature on other cars, and the rear view camera on the back of any Tesla is a wide-angle lens that can see pretty far in either direction, so I agree. It'd be great to see Tesla add that safety feature to what are already the safest cars in the world. Hey, let's have some more safety features. You can never have too many. There's no reason not to add it. So hopefully the right person at Tesla hears this and further considers it. And I say further because I have to imagine that this has come up in meetings in some way, shape, or form at some point. Maybe they've decided, well, I don't know if you need to have additional hardware, and they've decided it's not worth that, or if it is a software capable thing where they can do this with the existing hardware in the cars, and maybe it's on the priority list already. I don't know, but it's one of those things where I'm happy to play your call and throw my support behind you for whatever it's worth and hope that the right person at Tesla hears it. Thank you, Marvin. Take care. Appreciate the call. I've got time for one more caller this week. It is John from West Virginia.
Hey, Ryan. Thanks for doing all the work on the cast. Really love it. This is John from West Virginia, Parkersburg area. Hey, my friend just opened up the Jungle Drive-In, reopened it, the family drive-in back up in Parkersburg, and I got a feature request. We need a feature in the car called DriveIn Mode. DriveIn Mode would simply not allow the headlights to come on when you activate the car to move it, only allow the parking lights. The reason I'm asking for this feature from Tesla would be because whenever you go to put your car in gear or press your foot on the pedal and put in your code, it automatically will turn on the headlights at night. You got to go turn them off real quick. So this will be a great feature for the Teslas. Hey, thanks for everything you're doing, and have a good day.
John, thank you for the call and for the kind words. I appreciate that. This is 1,000% a great idea that Tesla can and should implement ASAP. I love it. I mean, sadly, I will speak from my own personal experience here. I don't even know of any drive-ins near me. I live in San Francisco, and I don't even know of any in the greater Bay Area. Must have one somewhere. But anyway, what I can say is I haven't been to a drive-in since I was a kid in New Jersey. But even though that was almost 40 years ago, man, I'm getting old, I still remember it. I do vividly remember going to the drive-in, and I have fond memories of it. So thank you, John, for reminding me of those good memories. You would dial in, for those maybe that are younger, that don't know, that have never been to a drive-in, you would dial in, this is back in the day, I'm sure it's better now, but you would dial in the sound for the movie on your car's radio on like an unused short-range frequency. If I remember correctly, I think I have that right. But anyway, I'm getting off track and wandering down memory lane. I am glad that there are still some drive-ins out there. And yes, DriveIn Mode would be an awesome new software feature to add to the cars. Cheers, John. Thank you very much for calling in. Thank you to everybody as Mina the future service dog. Mina, can we not chew on the desk that I'm... No, please do not chew on that. Where's your bear toy that I just got you? Right here, pups. No, don't... Here. Chew on this. Look, it crinkles and everything. Come on, go over here. There we go. All right, she was literally eating my desk. It's not what we want. Anyway, thanks to everybody that kindly took the time to call in. I will get to more of your phone calls on next week's podcast. Keep them coming, though. If you've got a Tesla question, comment, or discussion topic, you can call in using one of those 2 call-in methods that I gave you at the top of this segment. Stick with me, though. Ride the Lightning is not yet done for this week. I've got your pro tip of the week and more coming up next.
This is Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief, Sierra 117. You're listening to Ride the Lightning, the Tesla unofficial podcast. You know, that Cybertruck looks a lot like a warthog, doesn't it? Master Chief, out.
As for what's going on with me and my car, which I have named the Spirit of Adventure after my favorite Pixar movie, Up, it's washing weekend. It is time. There's a 3 or 4 week thick layer of dust on it that is getting too much for my eyes to tolerate. So it's going to be a car washing weekend. We're lucky that the rainy season here in the San Francisco Bay Area could technically start at any time, but so far the forecast has been nice. We've actually had some really nice days, which I'm grateful for. But yeah, looking forward to washing the car this weekend and just, it's always therapeutic for me. I know that may sound silly, maybe not to you guys. If you're listening to this Tesla podcast, that might not sound quite as silly as it would if I said it to some other people in my life, but it is. I just feel better. I feel better when I've washed my car. Anyway, I've got an entertainment recommendation for you for this week. It's a new video game. It is called Dragon Age: The Veilguard. It's an action role-playing game. It's available on PC, PS5, and the Xbox Series X or S. I've had a chance to spend about 6 or 7 hours with it so far. I'm liking it a lot. The reviews are really good. We gave it a 9 out of 10 on IGN, my day job over at IGN. So if you're in need of a good new role-playing game, seems like Dragon Age the Veilguard is up to the task. So check that out if you own a gaming PC, a PS5, or an Xbox Series console. Here's your pro tip of the week. It comes from Pete in Perth, Western Australia.
Hi Ryan, it's Pete Petrovsky from Perth, Western Australia. I'm not sure if this has been mentioned on your show before, but for those who don't know, I think I may have a pro tip. So we know that for the cars that still have stalks, if you press the end of the right stalk, it will place the car into park and it will automatically engage the park brake. But if you then press it a second time, it will unlock the car and enable you to open the doors from the outside, or even the trunk or the boot, as we call it here in Australia. So hope that helps.
Thank you, Pete. Yes, this is a good one. I think it's particularly handy if you're picking somebody up without getting out of the car, like if you're just pulling up to a curb and someone's going to hop in your car. Super convenient. I appreciate you calling in with this one. I think this is one of those little ones that, might seem, I don't want to say obvious, because I think most people might just tap the screen, the little lock icon there, but this is, if you've got stalks in your car, this is another way that you can quickly unlock the doors in the car. So I think a lot of folks will make frequent use of this pro tip. I've got a few plugs for some useful folks in the Tesla community, if you'll give me a few minutes here. I'll start with abstractocean.com. They make a million different great aftermarket accessories for your Tesla, from the rear footwell lighting kits, which I think are especially great for you Model Y owners. The drop-in cup holder stabilizers are nice. The tempered glass 4th generation screen protectors, custom fit for all the Teslas, that's available. Plus a million different lighting kits for both the inside and outside of the car. Just take a look, abstractocean.com. And everything you like, throw it in your online shopping cart. When you get to checkout, use the coupon code RTLPodcast to get 15% off of your first order. That's a nice discount, 15%. That's pretty sweet. So fill it up, go to checkout, coupon code RTLPodcast, all one word, no spaces, at abstractocean.com. If you want or need a front license plate on your Tesla, I very much recommend the Snap Plate, or maybe the newer, tougher Snap Plate Plus, available for all 5 Teslas currently in production. You can get yours at everyamp.com/RTL, and the Every Amp folks are now kindly offering a discount for all of you as well. That coupon code is also RTL. This is the front license plate bracket that will snap on and off your vehicle in seconds, but when it's on there nice and safe and secure, but when it's off, it leaves no unsightly hardware or anything else behind, unlike the equipment you get with your Tesla. The front license plate mounting bracket you get with your car from Tesla, it sticks to the car with automotive tape, which means if you ever want to get it off, good luck to your paint. It's not going to go well. So grab a Snap Plate or the newer, stronger Snap Plate Plus. Again, to get it, go to everyamp.com/RTL and use the coupon code RTL for a discount. If you're in or going to be in the greater San Francisco Bay Area with a car that you love, be it your Tesla or something else in your garage, I highly recommend you stop by, make an appointment. Don't just stop by, make an appointment at Immaculate Reflections. This is a wonderfully talented detailer who can take care of paint protection film on some or all of your car, depending on what you want to do. Paint correction to get your paint finish looking as good as it possibly can. Maybe you want to do ceramic coating. Instead of waxing your car twice a year, ceramic coat will last 3 to 5 years or more. I'm currently on the or more end of that after Immaculate Reflections did my ceramic coating when I first got my Model 3. Oh, I'm jumbling my words at this point. Clearly, the podcast is almost over because I'm running out of brain power. I can't even speak anymore. Anyway, there's a nice little discount for Ride the Lightning listeners for any service that you book in with Immaculate Reflections. So go to their website, which is irdetailing.com. You can reach out through there, contact them through there. Jeff is the owner's name. And tell Jeff what you're looking to do. Maybe he's willing to talk to you about your budget, whatever, he'll work with you. And just mention that you're a Ride the Lightning listener and there will be that Ride the Lightning listener discount applied to your final invoice there. I promise you, and this is, hook me up to a lie detector if you need to. I promise you, you will leave happy. Your car will look amazing. I promise that. So check them out, irdetailing.com. I mentioned my Patreon earlier in the podcast. I'll mention it again here. Patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. Every tier of the Patreon now has ad-free episodes. So no ads if you're listening through Patreon, if you're a backer through Patreon. Also early access at all the tiers. And then if you jump up to that $10 per month tier, which is the most popular one, you get the ad-free, you get the early access, and you get those weekly lightning round mini episodes. There are 120 of them for you to listen to right now. And hopefully you'll enjoy them if you do join up on the Patreon and start digging into those. I have fun recording them every week. It is a good time to do. So if you would like to support the podcast, I would be humbled and grateful if you would do so through Patreon. That website, one more time, is patreon.com/Tesla Podcast. If you're not already following/subscribing to this podcast on your favorite podcast service, I recommend that you do that. It's free. If you do follow or subscribe, it just means that you'll be notified every time there's a new episode, which with this podcast, as always, is every Sunday at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. You can follow or subscribe on Apple Podcasts, on TuneIn, on Spotify, on YouTube Podcasts, pretty much everything. All the big ones, you name it, you can find me. Just search Ride the Lightning Tesla Podcast, and that should pull this podcast right up there for you, and you can click the follow button. One more quick reminder on the referral program. That is back if you're a first-time Tesla buyer. Make sure to get $500 off a Model 3 or Model Y, or if you're buying a Cybertruck, Model S, or Model S, you can get $1,000 off using my referral link. To do that, either click my referral link in the description of this episode, or just type this into a web browser on your desktop or mobile device. ts.la/Ryan73014. Again, that's $500 off a Model 3 or a Model Y, $1,000 off of an S, X, or Cybertruck. You can follow me on X and or on Instagram if you'd like. I have the same username on both, and that username is DMC_Ryan. You can email me anytime about Tesla-related stuff, teslapodcast@gmail.com. And if you're a video gamer, you can check me out at my day job over at IGN.com. I do IGN's weekly Xbox show called Podcast Unlocked. I want to say hi to the Plaid, Maximum Plaid, and Roadster in Space tier backers before I go. These are the most generous folks. Really, really appreciate the extra generous support. I'll start with the Maximum Plaid crew. Big thank you goes out to Jonathan Wales, Cameron Clark, Daniel Grummer, Seth Capello, Nick and Tony, the Galpin family, Ryan from New York City, Darren Nickel, Kaz Barnes, Brett Libano, Patrick Wisniewski, Gil Cabrera, Todd Badger, Joe Edgel, Kevin Yank, the Tesla Owners Club of San Joaquin Valley, Will Stedman, Justin Perez, Jeremy Harris, Chris Beach, Tom Mills, Corey O'Donnell, Aaron, John Cody, Joel Sapp, Paul Casarino, Richard Corley, Chris Osborne, KB, Adam Lavoie, Jason Chalukas, Travis Krenzel, Bruce Otterstein, Tom Behan, Josh Pennington, John from Cream Ridge, New Jersey, Dustin Hart, Derek Finley, Charles Clement, Adam Christie, Damon Klein, Jeff Brown, and Jerry Slinger. Next, extra huge thanks to the Roadster in Space tier backers. They are Pete White, Lyle Austin, Steve Radspinner, Fernando Cordero, Lawton from Chicago, Sean Neidig, Neil Weaver, Jackson Wallace, Rolf and Jennifer Evers, Howard Anthony Smith, Victoria Iacovetto, Tesla Hitchhiker 42, Carol Weston, Robert from near Philly, Kristen Rumble, American Home Contractors, GetAmber.com, Doug Carey, Rav, and Michael Gallo. And finally, The grandfathered-in Plaid level supporters hugely appreciate your continued support at this otherwise discontinued tier. You guys are like in a secret club at this point. Really, really appreciate your continued support. Thank you to George Cassiopo, Logan Willis, Peter Chalet, Eric Randolph, Dory and Steve Guberman, the Tesla Owners Club of Taiwan, Ron Lee, Charlie Gillespie, Jeff Angwin, Chase Cabanillas, the Lydia family, Aaron Altschul, Jared Brown, Jerome Strack, Jamie Dalton, Mike and Barbara from Louisville, Matt Nixon, the Tesla Owners Club of Wisconsin, Ish, not Elon Musk in quotes, Peter, and the Bear Boys of Colorado, BAER, the Bear Boys of Colorado. Thank you all so much. Thanks to everybody at all the Patreon tiers for your support. Thank you to all of you for listening, your time, your attention. Those are things that are not unlimited. We only have a limited supply of those each week. So thank you for spending some time here with me talking all things Tesla. And the beat goes on. I mean, it's another busy week of Tesla news. Q4 is roaring ahead here. Cybertruck's available. We're looking ahead to a huge year too, with the Model 2.5 line coming up. And we'll see if there are any other surprises beyond that in 2025. But for now, there's still plenty of 2024 left to go. And week in and week out, you never quite know what you're going to get in the world of Tesla. That's what makes it fun. It's always unpredictable, but it's always fun. That's what I have found in my 9+ years, my 484 episodes and counting of doing this. So thank you all again for listening. Happy electric motoring, my friends, and I'll see you back here next week.
Elon Musk, people don't like Elon Musk. The guy founded PayPal and Tesla, and people are like, yeah, but he's a troll and a bad dad. I'm like, so was mine. He did nothing to fight climate change. Also, have you been in a Tesla? Have you been in a Tesla? My buddy let me drive his Tesla. I laughed out loud at how fast it went. Been clinically depressed my entire life, on dozens of medications, in a Tesla for 13 seconds, cured forever.
I mean, I think a Tesla is the most fun thing you could possibly buy ever. That's what it's meant to be. Our goal is to make it's not exactly a car. It's actually a thing to maximize enjoyment. It's maximum fun.